heard it online and you think there's no rival? You want it for your collection, but have you heard it on vinyl? Hello and welcome to But Have You Heard It on Vinyl with myself, Simon, and over there is Danny. Hello, Danny.
Hello there.
As per normal, we will be talking about what we've been buying or listening to recently. Our feature this time is EPs, one of my favourite formats. And lastly, we have got loads and loads to let you know that's coming out and coming up. So, exciting times. How are you, mate?
I'm perfectly well. I mean, you're not. Everybody in this house has got flu, and now you've got flu. I'm kind of feeling a little bit smug, but I think I'm probably going to get it.
Fingers crossed.
Bastard. Well, if it's not going to transmit down this microphone through the modern wonders of technology, then I'm going to get it from the wife.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I've had a shit week at work, and then now I just feel like death warmed up. So. To be honest, I haven't done much playing this week, I will be honest. So I've got quite a small front section when I do have my turn. So.
Oh, that's it. Stop recording now. Stop recording. Half-arsed.
I've done a lot of streaming just because I've just not had time this week, which sounds bad because we don't really do that. But I have got a few things that I can talk about.
I mean, this is like turning on the 10 o'clock news and the broadcaster going, "Good evening and welcome. This is Trevor McDonald." This is how Trevor McDonald sounds like in real life, by the way. This is Trevor McDonald. To be honest, not got a fat lot to tell you tonight, so just talk amongst yourself and I'll shuffle this bit of paper.
I'm just hoping that my colleague picks up the slack.
Maybe you should go and find him. Your colleague's feeling very sarcastic.
Wonderful. Can't wait.
So thanks for tuning in and see you next time.
Yeah, this is going to be
Shuffle
a fun one.
Paper.
Got fuck all to tell you. All right, over to you. You can start this one.
I will start, and I will pick up from what I talked about last time when I visited Vinyl Shakedown Records in, I want to say Burbage, Leicestershire anyway, I can't remember. It's something like Burbage. There was 3 other albums I didn't talk about last time that I'm going to talk about this time because I hadn't listened to them. And they're all by, just a quick recap, record store in Leicestershire, fantastic shop. The owner's Grant, really nice guy, massive stock, quick turnover stock as well. We bought some fantastic things. So, back to the show. I bought 3 albums when I went by Soul Asylum.
Oh, okay.
I am a Soul Asylum fan, but to a point, historically, that there were 3 Soul Asylum albums I absolutely love. One of them's Hang Time, which honestly is probably one of my favourite albums ever. Their big album was called Grave Dancers Union. Most people would know that. It's got the hits Runaway Train on Black Gold, Somebody's to Shove. That was their big album. And then the album that followed that, Let Your Dim Light Shine, which kind of didn't really do a lot, and they kind of went into obscurity again. But they did a lot of albums before Hang Time, a lot of mini albums and things like that, before they kind of got big. They were the typical overnight success thing that was sort of like 10 years in the making. So, yeah, I went to the shop, and the first thing I saw was this, which is Soul Asylum and the Horse They Rode In On, which is the album prior to Grave Dancers Union. So,
okay.
They at this point they've gone from sort of underground punky roots to getting there. They're on A&M now. This is the album that didn't do it for them, but the next one did. But this is a great album. I have it on CD, but you know, it's the first time I've seen it in a while, and I think it's nigh on unplayed. I've got to be honest. It says VG Plus, but yeah, it's pretty much perfect. I had to listen to it. Still fantastic. I've not listened to this album for a long time, and they're well on their way to being what they became. You know, they'd perfected it with Grave Dancers Union. I don't think this is quite as good as Hang Time, which I think is the album before. I can't remember which way round it was. I think it was Hang Time, then this one, then Grave Dancers. Hang Time's got a very special place for me. I absolutely adore that album. Very, very witty, very clever lyrics, great rock songs. But yeah, this is a great album. Glad to see that. And it was £7 English, would you believe? £7.
Again.
So, couldn't believe that. So, yeah. And as soon as I picked that up out of the racks, I saw behind it Soul Asylum, Say What You Will, which is an earlier album. This is like 9 songs. I thought it was a mini album. This is an album in itself, and I think this is about 2 or 3 albums and EPs before The Horse They Rode In On. This is from 1984. And at this point, this one and the next one I'm about to talk about is produced by Bob Mould.
Oh, okay.
Because they're all from that area. They all support, Husker Du, Replacement, Soul Asylum. They were all on bills together around that time. So they were all friends. They all knew each other. So, yeah, this album, Say What You Will, and the other one I picked up, Made to Be Broken. Terrible, terrible sleeve, but good album. And again, this is another full length. I don't know why in my mind I thought these were mini albums before I bought them, but there you go. This is again produced by Bob Mould, but I'll talk about them together because they're sort of mid-80s, and what I find with this early Soul Asylum stuff, they had that thing where people aren't allowed to do anymore, which is grow. People make an album, and if it flops, they're gone, off you fuck. Back then, you were given opportunity after opportunity, and as I say, these had a few albums and they were never quite there until sort of late 80s, early 90s. So what you find with these early ones is they're very sort of, there's a big sort of Replacements vibe. They're friends anyway, they're all playing together. There's nothing that really jumps out at you about these albums, to be honest. There's no great witty songs, there's no big hits on there. But each album on its own merit is just good, fast-paced, punky rock and roll. And they're enjoyable, they're great albums. They're just not, Hang Time was like a massive leap. And then Horse They Rode In On and etc. But yeah, the early albums are just kind of a little bit nondescript, if I'm to be honest. But, it's still enjoyable, still fast-paced rock and roll. Bob Mould's producing, so you kind of get the sound, because he produced these the way they sound like Husker Du records, very trebly, quite tinny in places, so you expect that sound from Bob Mould. And again, this one, Say What You Will was a tenner, and Make Me Broken was £6. And again, this one, well, both of them, to be fair, are pretty much immaculate. I think they've barely seen a record player. 3 Soul Asylum albums for 23 quid. Absolutely chuffed with those.
It's a shame they don't do, like what you were saying, they don't let bands develop. Because they don't, record labels, I don't know if they do it anymore. They don't seem to do like a development budget where they kind of sign a band and then they might own some lesser labels or some smaller labels and go, all right, you can put out a few EPs or a few little things to kind of build your audience and still be a bit underground, but you've got a major label behind you and we're not going to put you out on our big label until
that's it,
you're ready. It kind of, they don't do that. I think that they seem to throw all their eggs in one basket and go, oh dear, and then that's it. They're just sort of, they either kill you off or they give you another chance. There's no in between where they let you, as you said, they might see potential and you go, but I think in 5 years you're going to be banging. You just need 4 years of touring and getting your audience before we'll give you that budget.
And I think with these, like the early Soul Asylum albums in America, they came out on Twin Tone Records, which is where Husker Du and everybody else started. And I think that, there was a scene there. It wasn't a very big scene, but there was a scene nonetheless. So
is it Minnesota? Is that what it is?
That's it. Yeah. Cheap as chips to make. The bands are touring constantly. They'll sell a few copies, so they would have done it. The band's not making much, the label's not making much, but they could keep doing that. When they got signed to A&M, they were given Hang Time didn't do it for them. Brilliant album didn't do it for them. Horse didn't do it for them, and then third time around, Grave Dancers Union did. Massive hit, sold millions. So they were allowed 2 duds on A&M before they had the hit. And weirdly, after that, they did Let Your Dim Light Shine, which again didn't really have much impact. It's like they hit the peak and then come back down again. And then I think they were released. But, they let them do 4 albums, which is, not many people get that opportunity. So.
Apart from, Grave Dancers, I will be honest, I think that would have, when did that come out? When I was about 13, 14 or so? Maybe 12, 13. I didn't know anything about them beforehand, I'll be honest. I just remember that album coming out and Runaway Train being on the radio.
That was it. They were the classic Nothing Nowhere Nobody band. Massive hit to obscurity again. They're still playing there. They still make music now. I'm not a massive fan of what they do now, but they're still there. They're still playing. They'll still come over occasionally and play like your
smaller venues.
your smaller venues in London and stuff, but and I guess they do festivals and things. I don't know, but some bands you see Melvin's tour dates. Melvin's tour all year round in America. Every fucking dive bar going, everything. And I guess Soul Asylum are kind of like that. So they eke out a live in some way, shape or form.
Cool. Sounds like you had a good day with them.
It was great, and I will be going again soon. Give them a couple of months to get good turnover of stock. And
I did see that they posted the video is it yesterday, that he's bought 1,000 new records and they've all gone in the racks?
Yeah, that seemed like hard work. That seemed like too much hard work.
He filled up his van, didn't he?
It was quite, because he was going, I'll probably be here till the early hours, till about 4 in the morning. And me just being a dickhead, sat here thinking, oh my God, what are you going to do for dinner?
What about your tea, man?
I was just concerned. Oh, come on, let's have a whip round for him. Somebody drop him off a coffee at least. A little bit of a link. So I'll just talk about a couple of other things I've been listening to. So when I did go to Vinyl Shakedown, Jones picked up a spanking new copy of Smith's Strange Ways Here We Come, for which I have the original. Yeah. So typically, I've come home with a load of stuff, and the first thing I want to do is put something on that somebody else has bought. So I've been listening to this quite a lot. It's the original pressing. This is the last Smiths album, and it's so overlooked. It's criminal. It's got some classic singles on there. Girlfriend in a Coma. I Started Something I Couldn't Finish. Last Night I Dreamt Somebody Loved Me. It's just a classic Smiths album, but it's very progressive and very. It's their first sort of studio trickery album where they made a studio album and not something, going to take out live. So it's interesting in that respect. But yeah, I've had a bit of. I think it's because Morrissey's got a new album coming out very, very shortly. I've been streaming Morrissey a bit and the Smiths, but yeah, this one's had a real battering. And I love this original pressing as well because it's embossed. I do like an embossed sleeve. That's an original from '87 on Rough Trade. Okay. Great album. And beside that, I've been listening to The Fall a lot.
Okay, cool.
Specifically 2 or 3 albums. This one primarily, This Nation's Saving Grace.
Meant to be their classic.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. People kind of say that, but you interview 54 fans, you're going to get a different answer every time.
I was always their later years, I think, personally.
I do love the later years. To be fair, I've not got a lot of Fall because they're not the sort of band where, like for Judas Priest, for example, you can listen to Judas Priest album, I love that, and go and buy 10, and you're going to love them all. The Fall, you have to really, you know this, you're a Fall fan, you have to really concentrate and get into it because no one's the same. There's little bits and bobs you pick up every time, different bits of lyrics and things, and different songs and artwork and eras, different band members and things. So I usually find when I have a bit of a Fall phase, it's literally like 1 or 2 albums. I won't do the discography because it's just too much information. There is a song on this, which I can never ever get this out of my head, and it's called Paintwork. It just drives me. It's awesome, and I don't know what it is about it, 'cause it's one of the most simplest, straightforward, sweetest songs. There's no sort of, Mark's talking sort of speak talking like he's having a conversation rather than just throwing out his words with like he does. But I absolutely adore that song. It's worth that alone.
Cool.
But yeah, that's a brilliant album. So I've been listening to that a lot. I've been listening to Curious Orange, which is a bit different. It was for a ballet.
Bricks on it.
And it's got a new version of Bricks on it, yeah. It's got a new version of Hit Priest on, which has been totally jazzed up and turned into a different song, the new Big Prince. And then, the title track's classic as well. But yeah, it's been very much a Manchester sort of vibe the last few days, and sat at work streaming stuff as well. Just Smiths and Fall. Oddly, it makes you get work done. I don't know where that works. But,
yeah, okay.
But there you go. So yes, it's been a bit of a strange sort of a mix of 80s sort of hardcore and 80s in English indie.
Your brain wants what your brain wants. I can't.
It is. Well, that's how it goes, isn't it?
As I said, I can I'll go on to my ones in a minute. Like I was only saying to you the other day, like I saw that the new Gorillaz album went out, so I was like, all right, I'll give it a stream. I can't seem to get past the second song. I just go, I don't want it. So I couldn't even tell you. I don't know what it is about it. I think I'm just not really into them anymore. Care. I don't know. I couldn't get past it. I kept going, no, I'll give it a go because like the reviews seem to be good, but I don't care. It's got Marky Smith on it supposedly, and I can't even be bothered to get through to find that track.
They're an odd band. I can't get past the imagery, and also it's that thing where you look at it and go, seriously, they've been doing this for 26 years. What? You could probably name 10 tracks off the top of your head, or you know, the general public. Name a Gorilla song. It's going to be Clint Eastwood or Dare or
Feel Good Incorporated, or what it's called.
Yeah, that. There's maybe 3 or 4, and they've been doing it 26 years. It's shocking when you think about it.
Yeah, no, I've been trying, and every time I try to listen to it, I go back to the same few things I've been streaming, which I'll talk about the next time because I've bought the vinyl of what I've been streaming. But anyway, right. Well, I bought it a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to properly like devour it before talking about it on the show, basically. And that was the Hellacopters. They've released at the beginning of the year Cream of the Crap Volume 3. So basically, they're a bit like Rocket from the Crypt and some other bands from the 90s. They're just prolific. They really love putting out EPs, standalone singles. They like doing splits. They're one of those bands who just likes to put out a lot of content. Do you know what I mean? They're good writers. They don't mind doing splits with other people, doing covers and stuff like that. So they seem to always be putting stuff out. I think they've got the record labels they work for, but they must have a deal that they can put out standalone singles and EPs on loads and loads of other labels and stuff. So they're just constantly recording. Some of them could be outtakes from albums. Could be like they've just nipped into a studio and banged out a couple of songs. So like the collection covers all that sort of time. So at the moment, this is the 3rd volume they've done of this, and I think all these songs are still ones from when they reformed in 2016, I think it was, or 13. So these are all the songs which are from their original career. So they've done three collections so far of it. So there's obviously Cream of the Crap 1, 2 and 3, which is like I think between the 3 of them is like 68 songs.
Jesus Christ.
Do you know what I mean? And that's just, these are just, and they haven't even put on all the songs. So like they've chosen EPs and stuff and gone, all right, we'll probably leave a track off each one. So there's more stuff that they haven't even put on this, and I know that's not even touching the sides of, they could probably do another 4 or 5, do you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it, I was like going like, they were around from about 93 to 2008. So what's that? The original run, about 15 years?
Yeah.
And you kind of think of bands like Metallica and things like that. They've put out more content on 3 of their compilations and not even including their official releases than like some bands have done in a whole part of their career up to it. I think like Metallica up to Reload, there's still less songs than these guys have just put out on these compilations. So
there's some bands where you get a band like the Hellacopters that have done their entire career is longer than some bands' breaks between albums.
Yeah, probably.
So you look at that. I mean, for example, that Hellacopter's whole existence was the difference between My Bloody Valentine's Loveless and their next album.
Yeah. So, but this one's, as I said, it's a double album. I got it on the lime green variant through my local record store, but they're on Nuclear Blast now. So I'm hoping that they will carry on doing these reissues. But this one was something I think was meant to happen back in 2008, and because they split up, they kind of didn't bother. But it's really, really good, because a couple of the EPs on here that it covers, like, they're another one of these bands. I think there's such limited releases. If you wanted to try and collect all this stuff, like, individually, you're going to be paying through the nose for 10 inches, 7-inch singles and all that. You know what I mean? They might do 1,000 runs and stuff, so they're just expensive. So it's really nice getting quite a lot of this stuff put onto these collections. It covers all their career, so you've got their earlier stuff where it's dirty, quite garage rock and roll, really, really distorted, and then you've just got kind of where they were now, which is just a rock and roll band, really. And like, it's for a 22 track compilation, I think it is 22. I think that on the vinyl there is one more track which they haven't put on the streaming, so there's even more stuff on the vinyl, because I think they like doing that. They like shoving an extra track on if you want to buy the vinyl. And It's just brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed it. Like, there's covers on here. There's originals. So what have you got? There's a cover on here of Stab Your Back. So you've got the Damned cover. I think you've got a Rolling Stones one on here somewhere. They're covering 18 by Alice Cooper, which is... I don't like that song. I don't know what it is about it. I've recently had about 3 bands I've heard do covers of 18, and it's just...
Anthrax did it.
Yeah, that was it. I was listening to Fistful of Metal, and that was on it. It's just not my favourite song by him. I don't know what it is about that song. So that was the only one which kind of made me go. But the other ones is it's got the whole of the Disappointment Blues EP, which I remember that just being absolutely brilliant. But I could never get hold of a copy. I think I only really heard it. I think I must have made a cassette copy or burnt a CD off a friend or something. So to have it all collected together has been brilliant. And 4 sides of that, there's not really a bad song on there. I've really, really kind of just spent my time devouring it. So I've been literally listening to Hellacopters pretty much solidly, which then brought me on to Imperial State Electric, which is the band they did afterwards. But that I'll talk about the next time. So it's a really, really worthwhile compilation of theirs. And as I said, I'm hoping that they do the other 2 volumes on vinyl as well and reissue them, because they've just got so much stuff out there which I just want to hear. So I've just really enjoyed it.
There's some bands like them and Swami that have got and Melvins actually. That have got loads of just that bang out 7 inches, 10 inches EP, all this sort of stuff. And it would be nice to track down and get all these sort of things, but then sometimes, like for example, like with Lou Barlow from Dinosaur Jr. Sebado, he did a lot of 7 inches and things. I've got them, but it's years of picking them up and finding them and stuff. But part of me's like, if you'd have just got it all together and put it on a decent compilation like that, I'd have probably just got that.
Well, I think this is it. Like, I think I started to, a long time ago when I got into them, I started looking at, like, trying to get all the extra stuff. And it became just like a job in itself, just to try and track stuff down and on eBay. And I was just like, I can't be bothered. And then someone pointed me in the direction that he goes, oh, you can get most of this stuff on these compilations. So I think I got them on CD, the original ones. But this one, absolutely brilliant. It's a nice little interim thing. Hopefully they got a new album out next year, because they're really busy. Because if you think about it, I think since they've reformed, they've done 2 albums, a few standalone singles, and another EP. So they're already building stuff up for Volume 5 in about 2 years' time since they've been back. So, and there's probably more stuff that they've put out that I don't even know about, because they do like Europe-only ones, and I said splits with other people and compilations. So you kind of I'm gonna lose track again. So it's nice that they themselves put it together. It's got good little liner notes. It's got all the little information about where the original releases were and where they recorded them. So like, I think the earliest recording on here looks like it's like 95, and it said it goes all the way through to 2028. So absolutely brilliant. Really, really enjoyed it. So thoroughly, if you're a fan of the Hellacopters, definitely go and purchase this, because it's well worth the money. Sounds brilliant as well. So that was being my main one. I just wanted to really kind of dig into it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to quickly play it, because 22 tracks is a lot to get through.
Yeah, so, of course.
I've been kind of taking it time. I've been like playing a side at a time and just sort of getting my head around it, and just love it. Love them. I love a band like that. Like, I'm never really disappointed with them, which is rare with a band, I find. Did
you know many of those songs beforehand?
I've not actually. I think apart from the song Disappointment Blues and a couple of songs off that EP, I've not heard pretty much 90% of this album, so they're all fresh and new to me.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which has been good, yeah. And there's some absolute bangers on here. You kind of go, I kind of wish they were on the albums. So no, it's brilliant. Really, really, really worth it. So yeah, it's basically like getting a double Hellacopters album for free, basically.
Excellent.
No, so that was good. And then the only other thing I've listened to, just because I wanted to listen to something a bit different, because I've just been binging these guys, I pulled out Nathaniel Merriweather presents Lovage.
Yes.
Music to make love to your old lady by.
Oh, you sell it so well.
Which
it's the husky flu voice.
Time for some ladies.
All right, stopping there. It's creepy.
And this is a collaboration with Dan the Automator, or Dan Nakamura, who might be more well known for the Gorillaz, who we've talked about. He was the producer on the first one and did all the beats, which I love. I absolutely love his production. He's done so many great hip hop things. He did this. He worked with Head Automatica, which was the singer from Glassjaw. He's also done quite a lot of other ones. He's always been quite underground in a way. I think he's worked with Money Mark. I think he's done quite a bit with Damon Albarn anyway, because they did Deltron 2020 or what was
something like that.
But yeah, this is one of his ones, and he collaborates this time with mainly Mike Patton and someone called Jennifer Charles from the Elysian Fields, who I don't think I've ever heard her band, but I was looking up about it. Looks like she was done some stuff with Steve Albini and other people, so I don't quite know what kind of style that one is. But I got introduced this by my friend Boyd, who I play in a band, Parama, and he went, "Oh, you like Patton? You got to have this." I'd never heard of it before, so it took a bit of tracking down to get a CD originally, and this is a reissue which they did in 2021. So this one's on like turquoise blue vinyl. Sounds great. It was one of these albums that I found impossible to get hold of. So the moment I saw that there was a reissue somewhere, I grabbed it straight away. I have a feeling that you're not the biggest fan of this, or am I wrong?
I'm not, to be honest. And I'm like you. My friend Chris attempted to turn me onto this album many years ago. I mean, it's from about 2000 or something like that. It's an old album.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I'm sure he gave me a copy on a CD, and I just never. The thing is with Chris, he had this thing where he'd always do it back when we did. He'd always burn loads of CDs, and every time I saw him, he'd give me a pile of CDs because he'd be done with them. Yeah, you have them. And I'd sit on them for ages, and occasionally I'd pull one out and find an absolute gem, something I absolutely fell in love with. And I think he did on one of those. I just didn't quite get it. But then, like you say, they re-released it, and there was a double CD, and the other CD on it was the instrumental version.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll pick this. I think it's like a tenner. I thought I'll pick it up, I'll give it another go. And I still didn't quite get it. And the happy side of that is I did sell it eventually on Discogs for something silly, like £40, I think, something like that. So I got some money out of it, but no. But yeah, I didn't really. You know me, I'm not a big hip hop guy anyway, and it just kind of if I do like some hip hop, it's got to hit me right, and I just didn't. Just felt a bit wishy-washy. And I found Patton quite irritating on it. Sometimes his voice is a bit irritating for what a genius he is. Sometimes I'm a bit like, ugh. And yeah, it just really turned me off with that one. I don't know. And, yeah, it's not horrible. It just weren't for me. It's not my sort of bag.
I, on the other hand, was like, I'm a big fan of it. I love, as I said before, I love Dan the Automator's production anyway. He's got such a smooth way of doing things. I like the beats and the sort of ideas he comes up with, and I kind of found with this one I like the interplay between Patton and this Jennifer Charles. She's got a great voice on it. It's a bit of a sleazy album in general, but I kind of enjoyed it. I think at the time Patton was more well known for doing things like Phantomus, and he was doing a lot of that John Zorn stuff and other people. It was probably nice, I found, to find something which was a bit more palatable by him for once.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, it's not complicated, it's very straightforward kind of stuff.
No, I think it's a precursor for him doing what he did with Peeping Tom.
Yes, I was just going to mention that. And again, Peeping Tom, I liked it more than this, and they were good live. They were a good live band, but yeah, still not 100% there with them. I was kind of half and half with that album.
Yeah, but I like it. I think for my side of things, it's got some great songs. I think Sex Eimer is a Berlin cover. I could be wrong. I'm sure it's someone like that. I'll have to look it up, but I'm quite sure it's a Berlin cover. But yeah, I've kind of enjoyed it. I've had it on the other day. It's easy listening. It's, as I said, it's nothing that's gonna, like, I don't know. It's not amazing, like I'm just gonna go and gush over it. But it's an easy listening album, I find.
It is fun, to be fair.
Yeah, you got Book of the Month, Catch a Thief, Anger Management, Pit Stop, the first main song in it. It's catchy. There are lots of earworms on it, and then I said they got loads of little. I think they call them skits. I want to say.
Yeah.
We got African Bambaataa, Chris Rockwell, which is Prince Paul. Who else you got in here? Damon Albarn, some people from De La Soul. So it's got quite a lot of guests on it. It's, as I said, for the week when my brain was struggling because of work, I found it an easy album for me just to play in the background and
nod your head.
Nod my head when I was doing some work. And as I said, I didn't have to think too much about it. So if you kind of like early Gorillaz sort of stuff and Mike Patton, I'd recommend it. As I said, I wouldn't mind trying to see what else that Jennifer Charles does, because she's just got such a great voice on it. But yeah, there you go. So that was my one. Said I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's probably impossible to buy this album again now. I was just lucky to grab it when it came out. So I don't think they ever did a massive run on them. But there you go. So that was it. Lovage. Enjoy it. That was my main two plays. I haven't really done too much. I said I think I've got quite a few things coming in the post, which are all to do with.
Same here.
There you go. I said I think March is quite a quiet month for me. I think I've only really got the fall at the end of the month that I'm waiting for, really. Fall head rolls, which I looked at the prices, so I had to go and change where I was ordering it from, because it's 40 quid.
Yeah, it's shocking. Weirdly, I've pre-ordered. Not pre-ordered. I've ordered Hex Induction Hour. So I've been streaming that a lot. That's an album I've had. Do you remember back in the bad old days, 20 odd years ago, when if you were getting digital albums, you bought them off iTunes? And that was one of the first albums I bought off iTunes. So I know it inside out, but I still absolutely adore it. Never owned it physically, so I've just decided to order it. But it's like you say, it's 35 quid. I'm like, fucking hell. So I'm waiting for that to turn up. New Morrissey coming. That's this week. That's come around really quick.
Have you had any more word on your Alice in Chains box set that we're waiting to do the review on, or not?
Anywho, now it's time for this. It's the vinyl alphabet.
And this week was brought to you by the letter Y. And what is your Y?
My Y is Neil Young and Crazy Horse Weld.
Cool.
Which was a double live album from the Ragged Glory tour, I believe. His Ragged Glory album.
Is that with the Crazy Horses? Is that the band? Or something?
This is with the Crazy Horse. One thing I will say before I start is on here, you look at him and he just looks like cranky old Neil. You know, we all know what cranky old Neil looks like with his weird bowl haircut thing. And I'm looking at it and looking at the sleeve and realising this dude is about 5 fucking years younger than me on this.
Oh no!
And he looks like
you haven't even got any hair to do a bald haircut.
No, I was like, Jesus Christ! But yeah, Neil Young. I'm a funny one with Neil Young. I've tried many times, as I'm sure you've probably done it yourself. He's got a massive catalogue. He throws absolutely. If he has an idea, it's out. Everything he does comes out, and I've long learned that. Unless you were an absolute die-hard Neil Young fan and you're going to argue with everything I say, I would argue that 99% of what I hear is crap, and there's some gold. So I've over the years I've heard maybe 10, 12 Neil Young albums. This was a keeper. I've got Tonight's the Night and I've got On the Beach. And I am happy with that. That's me done with Neil Young. There's maybe one or two I wouldn't mind, but you get with this Weld. And let me just say, they're absolutely feral on this for the grunge era. I mean, they just beat everyone. They just show absolutely all those bands how to do it. It's crazy. It's brilliant. But you get everything you'd want from Neil Young. Cinnamon Girl, Powderfinger. Cortez the Killer, Keep on Rocking in the Free World, Like a Hurricane, Tonight's the Night, or Hey Hey My. You get all the Neil Young songs that he's famous for on here, played absolutely mentally. So for that, it's just, I know it's cobbled together from different concerts, but if it was a concert, you would be fucking blown away just stood there and listening to all that, because it's a great document. And there's even a Bob Dylan cover on there as well, which he's done really well. But yeah, I've not listened to that for a long time, and it's really good, strong solo album. Live album.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I own Harvest, that apart from Heart of Gold, I couldn't really tell you any other songs that are on it, because I never really got into it. And I do own that one, which I don't think I've listened to it that much. I think ages ago I must have had like the 1,000 albums that you should own or something, and I think I started buying them all just because I was wanted to spend money apparently.
We always want the things and we haven't got the money. Oh my god, if it's in this book, I mean, it must be good. I have to get it.
Yeah, I think so. I went through. I think there was some one I was just like, nope, not happening. But I remember it being quite high up. I don't mind him. He's an acquired taste with his voice.
Oh, totally. I really have to be in the mood.
But then I think those two albums are quite different because one's very acoustic, and obviously, as you said, this is the one where I think Pearl Jam were worshipping them and stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
he's the only person I can think of that can be intricately quiet and finger picky and, you know, beautiful sort of country ballads, and then have this mental backing band where they're just absolutely just feral and distortion, and, you know, they were so over the top way before anybody else was over the top, and they probably don't get enough credit for that. I mean, it's in the name, really, Crazy Horse, but and they're still doing it occasionally, I think. But yeah, that as a document, that is really the only Neil Young I need.
Fair enough. Oh, good choice.
Good blast. Good to after listening to a lot of admittedly dreary Mancunian indie last couple of weeks, putting that on and cranking the stereo up, because from the opening riff of Hey Hey My My with that guitar tone, which is horrible but awesome, just blew away the cobwebs. Brilliant.
Well, I could only pick one because I've only got one Y in my whole collection, and that was only something I bought at Christmas. Yazoo, Upstairs at Eric's.
Yep.
Which obviously is, I think it's their classic album, because I think the second album by then they weren't really talking, and
which is difficult when there's only two of you.
Yeah, from what I remember, I think literally he used to come in the mornings and do his bits, and she used to come in the afternoon and do her bits. So the second album wasn't a happy one. But this is the one which has probably got most of the hits that people remember. Don't Go, Only You, I think, what else is there? Bad Connection, Two Pieces. But yeah, so I didn't know this one too much. To be honest, I think Vince Clarke, I was never the biggest fan of the first Depeche Mode album, so I was less hammered to get this, and then I think I heard somewhere Only You and was just like, that is just an amazing song. And then I kind of I like some of the stuff that Erasure did. I think he got better through there. I don't love everything Erasure's done, but they've got some big tunes.
I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. He's a very talented man. He had a very specific thing, and he kind of, you know, if you've gone from Depeche Mode to Yazoo to Erasure, three, you know, formative bands, electronic bands, and he pioneered all three. That's pretty fucking good, and they're still going, Erasure.
Yeah, I think he's very. I think he's just hard-headed. It's his vision, his way of doing things, and I think with Depeche Mode, when there's three other people in the band with him who want to contribute, I think it's never going to go well, and I think that's pretty much the same thing that I can see on here, because it's pretty much an even split of his songs and then there's her songs, and no, it's I enjoy the album. I think it's good. This is like the 2018 repress they put out. It's on clear vinyl, nice and heavyweight. There's a few songs on here which I think are very self-indulgent, because you got like, is it I before E except after C, which is like, it's just a repetitive talking thing. And I was putting it on the other day, and even I think me and my missus were just I think we're booking a holiday or so, not that you really care. But we were sat there and I had it on in the background.
If you're happy, I'm happy, you know this.
Yeah, and I think even she was like, what is this shit you're playing? And I was like, yeah, it's not the best song, so I skipped it in the end. So like, overall, 80% of this album I think is great. I think when they get a bit self-indulgent, it does get a little bit boring. But generally, I think it's a banging album, to be honest. I think that, I don't know when would this have come out? Probably about the same time that they were doing either Broken Frame, probably, I'm guessing, or
83, something like that.
Yeah,
not sure.
Yeah, so this one came out on Mute and BMG. Very iconic front cover, very weird with the two mannequins.
It is weird, but it's a great sleeve.
Yeah, and Alison Moray, is it Moray?
Moye.
Yeah, her voice is absolutely brilliant. Like, it's a strange.
And she's still got it.
She has. Like, I think it's. I think he needed to. I think Consini's come from. Well, Dave at the time when they did Speak and Spell had quite a twee voice. I think he grew into his voice. She's just powerful from the get-go. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the songs, like the bar the ones which I've kind of dismissed as a bit shit. Like the rest of the songs, they're really, really well done. They're very tight. He's got quite modern. I think he's beefed up his production as well from Speak and Spell. He must have got some new synths and other stuff. So it's very catchy, and you can see why they had the hits they did. Only You itself is just an absolute classic. In every way, I think. But I think even the songs that she brings to it are really, really solid. So from start to finish, generally, you can't really complain. I think it's one of those ones, though. I think albums in those days, I don't think anybody had. There was always filler, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to say.
Because back then, you was putting out an album every 12 months or every few months,
Yeah, I think you have the songs, which right, that's the one which is going to break the album.
Yeah.
And then we just need 5 other ones to fill it out, and then we'll put it straight out. So at this point, I don't think anybody was aiming for perfection, because I think albums were just, like as you said, they were flying out singles, God knows what else. It's just part of the process. People you do a hit and they're expecting you to have another one pretty much ready the next day. So no, it's solid enough. I said I think they reformed very briefly in the 2000s, and I don't think it lasted too long. I don't think, but as I said, it didn't sound like at the end it was quite a short time. I think Yazoo, they weren't around for long.
Oh no, it wasn't. And she had quite a successful solo career.
Well, she's just as good a writer, I think. Just very different styles, and as we said, I think it's Vince's way or no way. So. It was never going to work. But anyway, I quite enjoyed it. It was good. I like my synth pop. I want to go and buy some more stuff. I don't actually own the Erasure. I wouldn't even know which album to start with.
No, I mean, I do like them. And me and Jones actually have this conversation quite often. But, I wouldn't mind some Erasure. But there's a fine line between the kind of Erasure I'd be interested in and then the twee sort of pop stuff. So I wouldn't know, like you say, I wouldn't know which one to go with.
Yeah, maybe they are a band that you just want to buy a compilation. Yeah. Anyway,
but again, they're still going, and I can only assume they've sort of matured and done a Pet Shop Boys and just got older and more mature and grown with into middle age with the rest of us.
But there you go then. That's been my listens this week, and that's our vinyl alphabet.
And now on to the feature.
We got a feature, musical feature. Here comes our feature coming up now.
Hello and welcome back to the feature. This week we wanted to talk to you about EPs. So basically, this is one of my favourite formats, really. I've always enjoyed, and I just remember as a kid having loads of EPs, and some of my favourite bands have released things that have just influenced me so much. So I just kind of wanted to get into it. I think most people always sort of think of either singles or albums, but the original format, a little bit of history on it, from what I could tell, was sort of came out in the 50s and 60s and was basically about 4 tracks. I think they sort of used to aim for then. They were generally on 7 inches because they wanted to put something out that was slightly longer than a single. And basically, I think from what it was used quite a lot in jukeboxes, and it was used as a way of people who didn't, sounds dumb, they didn't want to buy the whole album, so they used to go and release them as like 4 tracks, the best 4 tracks from the album you could also buy on an EP. As I said, jukeboxes used to use it a lot, so they could have the basically the condensed version of the album in the jukebox.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think like they got made very, very popular by the Beatles and Elvis, from what I was reading. Like some of them, as I said, were condensed versions of the albums, and some of them were literally standalone singles. I think one of the biggest EPs or most sold ones was the Twist and Shout EP by the Beatles, which I have right here from my mum and dad's collection. So from what I was reading about it, I think they thought they were so popular at one point they started trying to do the box sets. I think there's quite a few like Beatles box sets where they are really cool things, actually. Like they're trying to release almost the whole album on EPs, which later on, as we've seen for ourselves, quite a few bands have adopted this way of doing it, haven't they? Bands like the Crosses, bands like Off, bands like the Pixies. They went the route of releasing an individual EP, which then they collected and made the album. So, so basically they were quite big in the 60s and 70s, and I think up until when the Beatles decided to do like Revolver, and they wanted albums. They liked...
We are an album band now. This is what we do.
From what I was reading about, they kind of disappeared, and they sort of went back into the sort of background. And then I don't think it had a resurgence until punk. And a lot of the alternative bands came out and then basically reclaimed that format, and then it just sort of became huge. Like some of the 70s and 80s punk EPs, I think pretty much just paved way for a whole new era, really, because they were more affordable for bands to put out, especially because some of the earlier ones are really, really self-released, so it really opened the doors for DIY aspect of it.
Yep.
And like these bands just wanted to make a short, sharp statement before having to think about doing something bigger and more grandiose, or getting signed and putting the whole heart into an album. So
I guess there was less pressure as well. If you're already on the road,
yeah,
and they book you into a studio for a day, and just banging out 4 tracks,
exactly,
which instantly, you can just go out and do. There's not a lot of, you can just go in and do. This is why it suits punk, because it's such a. You go in and play as you're playing live.
Yeah.
Record it, bang, get the sleeve done, and it's out, and it's something you can sell. That was probably the appeal.
Yeah, and I think that's what I enjoyed. So if I go into it, starting with, say, the punk era, so obviously I was just saying about the Beatles, there was loads and loads of little EPs out from that point in time.
Yeah.
But then punk is the area which got me interested. So a few of the examples of those sort of ones which came out, I don't own it, but I think I had it on CD at one point. Like the Buzzcocks, their first thing was the Spiral Scratch EP. 7-inch single, short, to the point, no messing around. And like it was self-produced by them. I think they made 500 copies, which sold well. So then they did another 500, and it just sort of made a springboard until they got signed, I think, by EMI to go and do their first couple of albums. And I think they actually, the label itself, put a kibosh on any more EPs from them or reissues, because they were like, no, we want people to be buying this, so they kind of stopped and put down their own label. But the Spiral Scratch EP is amazing, like statement for the time, because they're just doing it themselves. They were very much the first sort of real independent band pushing themselves, I think.
And it's still talked about now, the Spiral Scratch EP. It was a big statement. It was real trendsetter.
It's got Boredom, which is like meant to be one of their classic songs, and then I think there's another one on there which I can't remember what it's called. Breakdown. One of them they basically re-recorded on their first album with new lyrics, but it's a classic. And then that sort of spread across to America, where I think it's one of the most perfect punk EPs or statements was Black Flag.
Yes.
Nervous Breakdown EP. Short, to the point. I've got one of the many reissues that STT have spunked out over the years. But 4 songs, what is it? It's barely even touching 8 minutes, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
It's just a classic. Well, looking at it here, side A is 1 song, 2 minutes, and then the other 3 songs are all squeezed onto the side B, and they basically add up to about 2.5 minutes, so it says it all, really. But that sort of thing, like, they've done many stuff afterwards. Quite a lot of bands I sort of find as well from that area, they put out something like this which just absolutely blows everybody away, and then they spend so long trying to, like, not recreate it, but do something as good, because that initial statement was such a great one. Sadly, they did this and then Keith Morris left, and then they were just changing vocalists every so often, and basically I think Greg just wanted to move past this short, sharp punk and do whatever he was doing. But quite a lot of other bands, like, their first statement is just their most poignant one.
Yeah, it's just the initial burst, and that's, Black Flag, for example, did some great things after. They did a lot of different weird things, But that initial blast is it's just punk in its very essence.
Yeah.
That 8 minutes is just perfect.
Yeah.
No, we're never going to top that again. And you've already done it. When you've already done your best work in 8 minutes, it's like, shit, what do we do now? And when you're constantly chasing it, it must be hard work.
Well, yeah, a little bit, because like I think almost the same kind of could be said. The Minor Threat EP, that was like another band from that thing. They came out. Their one was, I think it was 8 songs, but I think that's only 9 minutes long, and they just completely perfected what they were doing in such a short time. I think they did an Out of Step EP, I think, or album afterwards.
Yeah.
But this one here, what is this here? Okay, so my one is basically the first 2 EPs on a 12-inch. They've got one EP on one side and one EP on the other. But the original Minor Threat EP was 8 tracks, no messing around. It's absolutely brilliant. And the second one is, it's the In My Eyes EP. So that's the other side of it. So I've got the 12-inch, which collects 2 of them. But even that, just one EP itself, just spawned so many bands from that sort of era. Like, they put it out themselves. Both of them were self-released, which was carrying on from the Buzzcocks era. And I just like... I love the fact that it's such a short statement. I think for this sort of music it works, and that's what gets me excited about EPs, because I think sometimes people spend too much time overthinking things, sometimes with albums, and they're trying to get their point across, when, as you said, it's just a case of, I want to get this out, I want to put it out to the public, and this is what I want to say. And I don't think you need to try and drag it across 45 minutes. If you can say what you want to say in those 9 minutes, 4 minutes, or whatever it is, then why bother trying to make it longer? Do you know what I mean? So the EP was just a perfect format for that, I think, with punk.
Yeah, and with a lot of those bands, especially a lot of the Discord bands, they literally did that. Their entire career was on a 7-inch, and then they disappeared.
Yeah.
But you've got that 7-inch, and you've probably got 20. You've probably got like 10 songs on a 7-inch that lasts 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
And it was a great. Nobody dragged it out. Nobody tried to get a 10, 15, 20 year career out of it, because they were just kids at the end of the day. They were just kids having a blast, and they went out and toured a bit, and then come home and then got jobs and that, presumably. So
yeah, and
there's a lot to be said for that.
Well, yeah, and for them, they've got a physical object. It's like, well, that's that, my little whatever it is. That's my statement at the time, and I can look back on it. But they was just so influential. Quite a lot of these EPs were influential, I think, because they're sort of, sometimes they're like transitional, like they're doing this, and then what they do next is more grandiose, and they move. Like I said, like Black Flag, they did this, and then I think Damaged got re-recorded about 3 or 4 times with different vocalists.
Yeah.
And then from then, like, I think by the time Damaged had gone out, I would imagine the band had they're not even doing that music anymore. They've moved on to so much other stuff. So a quick turnaround, which is what an EP was always great for, because as you said, they haven't got to spend a week in the studio. It's go in on one day, do it, and then go. Well,
frequently, and especially with the punk bands, they're going in at like midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning when everybody else has finished, and there's a spare hour, and they've chucked a producer a tenner to it. To do it, but the music lends itself to that. Yeah,
and then like I think the original Descendants EP was like Fat was I think that's 8 minutes, 10 minutes. That one's absolute cracking. And then they've always still kept the EP format going forward. They've done a few things, like I think when they came back after one of their reunions, they came back with the American EP, which I've got right here. And this one, like, I think they hadn't done anything since 96, and then they came back in about 2000, 2001. With this EP, which made me more excited than anything, because it's just a small statement. They've kind of gone with 1 track or 2 tracks off the upcoming album, 2 other ones which are just as good as what they had on it. And it just blew me away, and it got me excited. So I love the fact that the old school punk bands, even though they probably don't need to do EPs anymore, we're still going, no, that's the old school way. It's showing
tradition.
Yeah, it's tradition. We're doing an EP, chuck it out on a 7-inch. I think I got it originally on the CD version, but I just love that these old school bands can still do it, and I'm sure they're still doing it now. They're still sticking with that tradition of putting out the EPs. It's very much still ingrained in the punk era. I think No Effects, they've done so many EPs. I think they've got ones now where they're collecting all their EPs together because they've released so many over the years. I just like them. I just like the short statement. It's great. But then after punk, I don't know which other bands really adopted it too much. I don't really remember I don't think like metal bands so much didn't adopt it as much as they did. I think like Slayer did Haunting in the Chapel, didn't they?
Yeah. But what I find there is that, well, there's two things that happened. I think you're absolutely right. The punk with the EPs was a perfect format because essentially it was like the old rock and roll, you know, like we just talked about the Beatles and that. Their songs are only 2-minute stops. You know, 3 or 4 songs. Again, 8 minutes. 8 minutes of Beatles on a 7-inch, you know.
Yeah.
So the punks had just done that. When it came to metal, what you find was the EP kind of expanded. And I don't know if there's any examples of this beforehand, and we haven't discussed this. It's just coming to me. It kind of evolved into what you'd like call a mini album.
Yeah.
So you would have somebody like, top of my head, Anthrax.
Yeah.
Did a couple of albums, and then they did the Armed and Dangerous EP, which I think was 5 tracks.
Could have been, yeah.
5 tracks. Slayer did Haunting in the Chapel EP. Metallica did an EP. So it seemed to be a metal thing, or you know, people did live EPs. Iron Maiden did a live EP. I'll talk about that later. And then what I find then is with the American indie scene, which kind of morphed from the earlier punk scene, you know, your SSTs and other punk labels of the early 80s. What then happened was towards the later 80s, when it morphed into sort of college rock and alternative rock, when you got bands like Pixies, Throwing Muses, bands like that, they always did mini albums.
Yeah.
6 or 7 tracks, you know. And then when grunge came along, you'd find a lot of these bands, Soundgarden, Tad, bands like that, they all did mini albums before. It was like they were given an opportunity. Right, we'll sign you can do this.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes, and then maybe do an album. And it became very much a thing where, if you look at it, a lot of these grunge bands did a mini album to start with, and that's where it kind of went. And then over in the UK, we did something similar where you got bands like Slowdive were doing EPs and mini albums. My Bloody Valentine's Day were doing EPs and mini albums. It was just a thing before people went and did a full album. Or they'd do an album and they just do a stopgap EP, you know, in between while they're on the tour. So it kind of stayed within, from punk right through to American indie, it kind of stayed in that realm. Yeah. So to the very early 90s, I'd say. But I'd say after that, it has kind of got, like you say, some people do it for nostalgia. Yeah. But it has kind of gone. And now I find the only people that do these things now, your pub bands, your bands that are just your amateur bands that are on the circuit, just going into a studio making a CD themselves, 4 or 5 tracks, which they're banging out for £2 at a show. They're not signed, they're hobbyists, and they're making mini albums themselves. So it's a great format, and it really had its time. And I don't know if it's there anymore. I don't know if you're finding people are still doing them.
No, I think it's missed. I think there's a couple of bands still sort of do it. I find it as well. It's quite a good format for a transitional format as well. Like talking about Metallica, obviously they did Master of Puppets, which blew the world up, and sadly they lost Cliff. So they decided to try and get back on the horse, and they came out with the Garage Days Revisited EP.
That was a great move. It was a great thing to do.
Well, yeah, because I think that slowly EPs kind of moved away from the 7-inch format and moved more into 10-inch and 12-inch, which is, as you said...
I was going to talk about that, because for me, personally, and I don't know whether it's just a British thing, I know EPs more as 12 inches.
Yeah, okay.
That you've got 7 inches, which were always traditionally singles for me, and then 12 inches were EPs, you'd buy a 12-inch.
Well, yeah, I think most of my punk stuff, because of the short songs, they fit on the 7-inch fine. But then I think when you're getting bands like Metallica and I'm going to talk about 9 Inch Nails later on, they were doing longer songs. So the 12-inch format basically became the new format for EPs, because I think officially an EP is somewhere up to 8 songs and has to be under 30 minutes or 25 minutes or something like that, I think's the official ruling. So basically Metallica popped out with the Garage Days Revisited, which I've got an original copy that I remember buying from some random store in Oxford. I think me and my mate would just wander around, had some coins. I think it must have cost me like £3. I think we scraped together some like pennies and basically went and bought it. But this one, for me, was was like a gateway into so many bands I'd never heard of. And it was just a brilliant idea. Like Helpless, which is Diamond Head, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, which is Budgie, who I would have never have heard of. I think they introduced...
No.
I think they got these... Helped get these guys... Put some of these bands career back, I think.
Yeah.
I think Diamond Head pretty much would be dead in the water if they didn't have all the money and royalties coming from Metallica.
Yeah.
Small Hours, I think that's Holocaust. I don't really know too much. But then it's got Last Caress.
Misfits.
Green Hell. Yeah, Misfits, which is... I never heard of them before. And then basically, I think everyone knows the Misfits now. They're huge. I think they've got so much to thank Metallica for.
Yeah.
I think the only song that's not on this one, which I think is on the CD version, is The Wait, which is...
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke, yeah, it's not on this version. So,
Okay.
But yeah, this one just blew me away. Quite a lot of their covers. They did great covers, Metallica. Red Fan, what an amazing song. So many bands I would never have heard of.
They've got a great way of making the Metallica songs.
Oh yeah,
because you wouldn't know if you just sold me that EP. You wouldn't immediately assume they were covers.
No.
'Cause they've done such a great thing of turning them into Metallica songs. But then weirdly, you do go back and listen to the Budgie song, or you go back and listen to the Diamond Head song, and you think, okay, I'll get that. But
Yeah.
they've just tweaked something just enough to make it Metallica, and they sound brilliant. And the production was always great with Metallica back then as well.
they listened to the song. I think some of the Budgie ones, I think when they said they went off a bit too proggy, they would cut that bit down and condense it and go back to...
Yep.
They had a good way of editing. And then I think some bands have now adopted the whole cover EP, because Ghost, for the last... I don't know how many years, they do a cycle of an album and then they come out with a covers EP, and then they do another album and a covers EP, and they make the songs themselves and reintroduce you. Like, I think I bought the last one, which has got... Not a big fan of Phil Collins, but they do a Genesis cover on it, and they very much make the songs their own. I think they're introducing these bands to a new audience. Which is great. I kind of enjoy the old covers EP. I think it's a good introduction to some people to learn new bands. And I don't know about yourself.
I think so. And I think Metallica kind of pioneered that. I can't recall anybody else. There was the odd song, like Anthrax did one.
Yeah.
And then Megadeth did the odd cover. But a full EP, and all brilliant songs as well. It was like... I remember reading Kerrang and stuff and thinking, oh my God, who are Budgie? Oh my God, who are these bands? Like you say, with Misfits, I knew their name. I remember seeing pictures of them with the Fringe.
Yeah.
But I pretty much went and bought Walk Amongst Us off the back of that EP.
Yeah. First time I heard Last Caress and just went, this song is amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, as I said, like they used it as a transitional album from one to another. But then loads of bands have used it for introducing their new sound,
or new members, or
we're big fans of Therapy, and I think then they did a run of EPs leading up to Troublegum, which slowly introduced where they were going. So you had the Opal Mantra EP into the Face the Strange, but I think the one which came first was the Short Sharp Shock one, which pretty much said what you're about to expect on the next album. Scream Major was their first thing to go and break the top 10 of the UK chart. It was so different to Nurse. Nurse is one of our favourite albums for both of us.
Yeah,
it sounds nothing like Nurse, and I know you are not a massive fan of it, but they took one of the songs, Accelerator, from Nurse and showed it in the new setting and new production, like crisper drums, fatter guitars, more to the point songwriting.
And they did it with, was it Accelerator they put on the Face of Strange EP?
No, Accelerator's on this one. That's what I'm saying.
No, sorry, not Accelerator. It was...
Net Freak.
Net Freak, that's right. They took from Nurse and put on the Face the Strange EP. So yeah, we're going in this direction now. Yeah. And if you like the last album, this is what these songs from that album now will sound like.
I think it blew up for them. They did it so well with the EPs. Just a little, all right, well, this is it. And I think those 3 EPs kind of really, really expanded their sound and their audience. The moment Trouble came out, they blew up everywhere. They were.
That was it. It's like we just talked about with Soul Asylum. They went from indie band playing small gigs to boom, fucking big stage, big loud rock songs. Yeah,
and Carcass, who they've done similar things. I think they've done a few EPs. They did an EP before their last one. They did the Tools of the Trade EP, which showed a little bit of what was coming with Artwork. They dialed down the vocals a little bit, so they were less death metal-y and a little bit more straightforward. A little bit of tighter songwriting as well, less progressive. It's a good way of not shocking the system when suddenly they come out with something and they go, oh, okay. It's just little tweaks. And it's very, very smart that they do it that way, because they kind of, I think they did a cover of one of their earlier songs, but in a better production, and they did the Tools of the Trade. And then Nine Inch Nails, very, very similar.
Yeah, probably the biggest, arguably the biggest EP of the 90s.
Absolutely, I think it's perfect.
Be interested to see the sales figures on this, actually.
It was just, this is my favourite release by them. Absolute, hands down, favourite thing they've ever done. I love everything about it, because I saw them support Guns N' Roses, and I don't think this EP was out yet, but they'd done a few songs off it. Mm-hmm. Hearing Pretty Hate Machine after seeing them live, it didn't sound like the same band, but when this EP came out and I heard this, I went, that is who I saw. That is the band I saw.
Yeah.
I just need my ears to bleed a little bit more while I'm listening to it. It was just absolutely genius from start to finish. And this is one of the reissues from a few years ago. So you get the 2 bonus tracks, which on the cassette you had to wait to the second side. They're on a 7-inch.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect blast of noise, and it just showed what Nine Inch Nails were going to be. Like, they kind of brushed off their 80s and just went storming into the 90s like this.
They retained some bits from it literally was night and day, wasn't it? So the 80s, you got the synthy pop. Now you've still got some squelchy sort of synths on here, but it's just a big fucking noisy rock industrial album, which Pretty Hate Machine was not.
No, and the lyrical content was showing where he was going to go when it got to Downward Spiral, and this is
the template basically.
Basically, he'd heard what his live band was like and wanted to actually put it onto record, which I think this is a perfect example of it. And then he did the first kind of real remix EPs as well, didn't he? Because he did Broken and Fixed, so that was like the second half of it.
Yeah, it took me a long time to appreciate that with Nine Inch Nails. For years, because I love an album, but then when there's like endless remixes and things, and that was the time to do it, I was a bit like, I just want to hear the album. But over time, I quickly realised their remixes are just as good, if not better in some cases, than the actual album. So the Fixed remix album is fantastic.
So yeah, but I've gone through some of like my favourite sort of EPs and stuff. Which ones really sort of tick boxes for you?
I mean, from the early days, a big one for me was Iron Maiden live in Japan, because it was that stopgap thing between albums. They've got the original single Pull the Ano. They're selling well. They're an up and coming, but they're doing really well. They've released a few singles, so they did just like a live album. It's no new songs. It's 4 songs from their 2 albums at the time. And with Iron Maiden, the Eddie artwork is everything. So you've got the Maiden Japan EPs, 12-inch. It's got all live shots on the back. So I remember getting that as a very young kid, and that was just really cool. So that was a big thing, because you're not listening to, it's not a 7-inch and you're not listening to a full album. It's just good 4 great live tracks from the era. Besides that, I mean, I've got a lot of mini albums and things like that. Breeder Safari is a big one.
Oh yeah.
And weirdly, it's a bit like the punk thing where you've only got 4 tracks. And we've talked before about how Kim Deal takes a long, long time to write songs. It's just not something she rushes at. So this was after the Pod album and before Last Splash. She got 4 brand new songs, and again, I think they're only about 2 minutes each, and that's a brilliant EP. Weird sleeve, and they did a video for the title track. Yeah, 4 tracks, brilliant. 4AD record label. We'll also mention post Minor Threat. You obviously had Ian MacKaye went on to do Fugazi. So the first 2 Fugazi releases were mini albums, 6 or 7. I think there's 6 tracks on each. Before they eventually combined them both to make an album.
13, isn't it?
It was a big hit, yeah. So there was that. The big one for me was 2 big ones. I'll talk about Mudhoney first.
Yeah, which I think everyone sees the Mudhoney one as their pinnacle, don't they?
Yeah, Mudhoney, Super Fuzz, Big Muff. If you haven't heard this, you will at least know the sleeve. It's an absolute classic. It was the start of grunge. When you talk about grunge, there's only one band to me that are grunge by name and definition. That is Mudhoney. They were just absolutely the best and first. and Last. They're still doing it, they're still going, they're still brilliant. And Super Fuzz Big Muff is 6 tracks. Weirdly, I've got the German pressing, and they've switched out the original first track for Touch Me I'm Sick.
Oh, okay.
Which is no bad thing, because Touch Me I'm Sick is an absolute stone cold classic of the era.
My favourite one by them.
Yeah, and then you've got In and Out of Grace on here, which is absolutely perfect. Chain That Door, Mud Ride, which is one of their big songs. It's 6 tracks. It's absolutely perfect. I love this. Anybody that's into grunge should have this. If you haven't, show yourself out. You've no right to be in this room.
I think they've even said themselves that they've never bettered it for some reason. In their mind, they think it's their perfect.
They were different, but and it was that thing like we just said with Buzzcocks and Black Flag. It was the initial blast, the initial 6 songs. There you go, boom. Your statement of intent is there. And for Mudhoney fans, we can argue all day long about, oh, well, this album's better than that album, blah, blah, blah. I've got my favourite Mudhoney albums. But to the onlooker, the outside fan looking in, they will just go, Super Fuzz, and you don't need anything else. There's an argument for that, but they would be missing out. But there is definitely an argument for just needing Super Fuzz. And then the other big EP for me from the 90s, well, it's a double-edged sword, because you've got, this is Alice in Chains, obviously. You've got Sap, which is a 4-track EP. And then you've got Jar of Flies, which is a 7-tracker. Yeah. I think they were released as a 2-pack at the time, but Jar of Flies has since been reissued on its own as a 7-tracker. And, I mean, this is just perfect.
It's the other side of the coin, wasn't it? They went more acoustic on it, didn't they?
Yeah, they were grungy, they were loud, they were drugs, it was all that. And then you've got 7 absolutely beautiful, mostly beautiful acoustic songs with strings, and Lane's voice on here is amazing. I think this is actually Mike Hines' first introduction to Alice as well.
Okay, after Mike Starr left.
Yeah. So yeah, they just did this EP, and then they were going out and doing acoustic gigs. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I think there was 2 singles. I think there were 2 singles off it as well, which is weird. But they were on a major label and just selling it to death. But yeah, over the whole era, I would take that and Super Fuzz Big Muff as my favourite. And then, when I mentioned earlier, local, bands, small bands, pub bands that are just out there doing it semi-professionally, or even completely amateur fashion, they put out their own singles. So, I mean, these are CDs, but a band I was a bit obsessed with sort of 10, 15 years ago, a local Midlands band called Goddamn, and they did a couple of EPs. There's one here called I'm a Laser, You're a Radar. That's a 4-tracker. That is awesome. Just heavy noise rock. And then they did another one called Heavy Money, which is a 6-tracker, which is just as good. I mean, these are a brilliant band, and small band, self-financed, and we picked them up at the shows for like £2 a pop. We go and see them at the bars in Birmingham, and they were selling these and pin badges and things, anything to get them up to the next sort of gig in the next town, sort of thing. So yeah, good times, and that's kind of where EPs have landed now with the smaller bands, I feel, because they just go in and just record what they've got because they're paying for it themselves. So
quite like bands. Some of the bands that we love like doing the tour EPs, like Malvin's Big Business. I think the first thing I ever got from them was their tour EP too. I think No Means No, who we were talking about recently, they did on their last few tours, they did tour EPs. So they quickly go in and it's just something to sell at the show, and it's awesome. Like I just love something about that format. I used to just get very excited, just because especially when they're short, condensed, and you can go, oh wow. It got me excited that I wanted to go and explore them and find something else. We have got, sadly, as human nature, we've got very short attention spans. So if you can get something out there that's going to prick your ears and go, what the fuck is that? I want to see what that is. Then it does its job. I said, short, sharp, shock EP. For whether you preferred their older sound from Baby T, from Nurse, it did its job. It got you noticed and you went, what the hell was that? Nervous Breakdown, same thing. All these other sort of EPs we've talked about through the thing, like I said, like it's quite interesting, as we said, with like the Pixies. They did Indie Cindy as 3 different EPs.
Yeah.
It got you interested, and as we've said before, it's funny how you could hear one EP and go, it doesn't do it for me, but in an album context it did. It still got you talking about it. And it was...
And then in another fashion, if you go back to Nervous Breakdown, for example, that EP, absolutely love that to death. But I wouldn't sit and listen. Weirdly, I wouldn't sit and listen to Damage. I wouldn't. I put Damaged on.
Yeah.
Damaged. I don't know whether it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I would sit and put Nervous Breakdown on 10 times in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a blast. Oh, I'm going to put that on again. I'll put it on again. I'll put it on again. And before you know, you've listened to it longer than what the album would have took anyway. But it was just a blast.
Well, I think that's what Off basically tried to use as their Keith Morris's band. He did more in the style of early Black Flag, and he used that as the template because they ended up doing 4 EPs of pretty much Damaged. Not Damaged, sorry, Nervous Breakdown. People might agree not as good as. I still think they were amazing EPs. And they did that 4 times, put it together as the first album. And for me, I find it works really, really well because they were like, well, we'll just do this 4 times. And it was a great concept. So EPs in general, I'm all for them. I know that quite a lot of bands these days are doing more 10-inch ones, but it is a sort of lost format that I think needs to sort of come back, personally. Whether it is a precursor to an album, a introductory into a new style, or what, I think it's a valid format. I think it's probably more valid for me than a single. I buy singles a lot less.
I think it's a shame because I don't think it will come back in any meaningful way apart from a nostalgia thing because number one, people aren't looking at charts anymore. And number 2, bands don't even release most bands don't even release physical singles now. You'll get 2 or 3 downloads available ahead of an album.
Yeah.
But it's all just talking from the album, but there's no physical 7-inch to buy with a B-side, with the traditional B-side and different formats and things. You're literally just getting an album and a couple of leaked downloads. If singles aren't important, then
why would
EPs certainly.
There you go. Yeah, that was it really. That's my main one. I've got loads of 7 inches. I've got loads of 10 inches and 12-inch sort of EPs, and it's just something from my youth that I remember a lot, and I do enjoy them. So that was kind of where I wanted to go with this feature.
It might be worth talking about mini albums at some point because that's just it's just like one step away from an EP, isn't it? It's just that little bit more like off the top of my head, Sugar, Beast off the top of my head.
Yeah. No.
You know, so
all right, well, that's
we will revisit at some point.
We will. All right, let's go on to the end waffle.
It's the last bit of the podcast. It's the last part of the show. It's the last bit of our podcast before we have to go.
All right, and then lastly, the end waffle. What have we had coming up and coming out? There's so much, so once again, we're going to hold some things back. The first song off At the Gates' final album, I'm guessing, since the singer Thomas died, has been released, and I think it's back to the standard classic sound and absolute Stallman song. And the album is called The Ghost of Future Dead, and it's coming out April the 25th. There's a lot of albums coming out in April. I think it's going to be a very busy one, but it's great. There's a tribute video, so there's loads of archive footage of him. It's just a great song. So they've got the original guitarist back, one of the twins, because there's the bassist and the guitarist, twin brothers. He writes a much more riffy sort of version. I think when he left, they got someone else in, and I think they were getting a bit more progressive with their sort of style. This one's just punchy riffs, start to finish. Love it.
Yeah, I don't know much of the ins and outs of the members and stuff, but just as a casual listener, I thought it's a great song. Really got my attention.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. I think Century Media, so there's going to be usual loads of different versions and variations. I haven't actually pre-ordered this one yet, so I haven't quite decided what to get, but I'm sure we'll do. So that was a big one, and then we've had 2 other sort of large ones looming up for me and you in our world, which was Corrosion Conformity, who finally announced their one.
Yes.
Good God, Bad Man, coming out April the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
First song came out, I don't know if it's the best one to put out. Maybe they're just going for something short and sharp just to get people's attention.
It's a blast. I liked it. I didn't absolutely fall head over heels for it, but as you know, you're a long-time fan. I'm fairly new to them, but yeah, it did the job for me. I thought it was a good tune.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's good sound. So this is a double album from the traditional sense of vinyl.
Yeah.
I think they're probably all sold out now, but I think if you went via the official channels of the record label on their website, they were doing one blue and one red vinyl. I think they sold out very, very quickly. I think it's mainly just the black vinyls left, unless I'm sure there will be variations down the track. And it comes with, what's the strip thing they called?
Obi strip.
Obi strip. So it's coming in an Obi strip.
You sounded so angry about it then. What is this strip?
It kind of annoys me. I prefer a gatefold, I think. But the packaging looks cool. I'm expecting good things for it, to be honest. Like, they've never really disappointed me before, so I'm looking forward to that one. So that'll be out on Nuclear Blast as well. I think they're touring the UK very soon. I think May time, I think I saw.
You going to go?
No, I'm not too worried. I've seen them loads of times before. At the moment, I've got so many other things I need to buy and concentrate on, so they're probably low down on my gig list at the moment. They'll be back, I'm sure.
Food, petrol, children's welfare.
Basically, yeah. So that was one of them that we saw, so very much looking forward to that. A huge one for me and you, because I think we mentioned them ages ago, and it was one of those ones where the original version of this album or EP sold out in seconds on Amphibian Reptile.
Yeah.
And that is the Melvins Napalm Death split album.
Yes.
Savage Imperial Death March, coming out on the 10th of April.
Looking forward to that.
So that one's going to get an official release via Epicac. Yeah, no, it's exciting. I've heard the first song. Hasn't completely blown me away, but we'll see what the rest of it's like.
It's weirdly how you would expect the Melvins Napalm Death to sound together. Neither band has sort of conceded any space. It's not sort of all. You wouldn't say it's like a Melvin song with Napalm Death on, or it's a Napalm Death song with Melvins on. It is generally a good welding of the two. Yeah,
from what I can see, it is Shane and the guitarist and Barney.
Yeah,
and it's Dale and Buzz. So from what I've read a little bit, it seems that Buzz has come in with a riff, and then they've all just worked on that riff, and then Barney's put his vocals and lyrics on it. So it seems to be a truly collaborative effort. So no, it'd be interesting to see where it goes. Like, it's going to be heavy no matter which way you look at it.
I always look forward to, they've got into a pattern now. It's generally every sort of March, April they'll put an album out, and they've got that.
Yeah,
they've got it
true.
down to a T now, where they do sort of 8 songs, and it's generally about half an hour-ish. They've got the perfect form, because they don't drag things out. It's not too short. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's just right. every year they do it.
Yeah, and I think it's probably about April time last year. I was in Bruges when the other one came out. So.
Yeah. So you get something off the Melvins every year. That's what I love about them. You don't wait too long.
No, and by the looks of it, as we said, there's multiple variants. If you could buy via the website, or there's the independent ones. There's many, many different colours. Another really, really cool, striking album cover from Mackie, as per normal. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. I said I'm sure there'll be another song out soon by them, but no, it's a cool one, because I think we both talked about it last year, and as you said, I think it's it's almost impossible to buy through that record label, isn't it? You said before, like trying to get it through Amphibian, it sold out before you could even blink. So
yeah, you go on the website, you reload it, it's gone. But it's cool. It makes it collectible. I'm all for collectibles, but
yeah, so no, that's a cool one. I'm sure. I think they've announced as well that obviously they're now officially a 4-piece Malvins, so I think there'll be another album with Cody coming soon as well, by the looks of it.
Cool.
And then lastly, it's a very big release as far as the music industry, but is it a big release as far as me and you are concerned? Is the new Foo Fighters album has been announced for April the 25th as well, called Your Favourite Toy. I think we both have a very up and down relationship with this band. I think you're more down.
Mine's mostly down.
Well, look, when they first came out, I loved the first album. I love the second album. I remember seeing them quite a lot on that tour. I was a fan enough of the third one, but it didn't. I kind of started to wane. And then from that point onwards, I thought they were just dreary radio rock done badly for a long time, and it wasn't until they did Wasting Light that they got me back, because that album I absolutely love the concept of it, love the songs, saw them on quite a few tours. It was a poignant part of my life because me and my missus saw it, found out we were pregnant with Mikey, and it was all around the period of this album coming out, so it's a big album for me. And then since then they've been very up and down. I did enjoy the last album. I thought it was alright, it was a bit more back on track. So far, the 2 songs I've heard of this one, I feel they're back to dreariness. And I'm back to going, yeah, I'm not too worried. They're just one of these ones, the moment they get me back, they then do another album, and I just go, bollocks, and then that's it then. I don't know about you. Don't know what your thoughts are.
Very simply, we'll keep it nice, and I'll very simply say it is generic rock music for people that don't like rock music. And I really want to punch Dave Grohl.
Yeah, I think... See, Dave Grohl's one of these weird ones. Like, I see interviews with him. He's a lovely man, from what I can tell. He's had some problems in the lately, which shows him in a different light. And I've read some horror story...
Putting his thing in places he shouldn't be putting his thing, basically.
Well, I think my brother lent me a... what was it? A biography by a snowboarder who he dated for a while. And yeah, he's a bit of a dick. I think she found out that he dumped her by turning on the telly one day and saw him at an awards ceremony with someone else, and she didn't know that she was no longer going out with him.
Oh.
So he's not the nicest man when it comes to that side of things. Either way, music wise, I don't like the production so far of this album. Of the 2 songs I've heard just sound terrible, and the songs are just dreary. So it gets me back for a moment, and then I kind of go, oh. But they lost me pretty much after the third album, and it took a while to get back.
Well, everybody says to me, first 2 albums great, and then that's it. That is it, basically.
Yeah.
I just think it's just nondescript rock music, in the same way that Kings of Leon and Stereophonics and bands like that, it's just meaningless rubbish, absolute landfill rubbish.
Fair enough. No, I said I've got a soft spot. Like he does some drumming wise, can't doubt him. He did a great job with Queens of the Stone Age. I really enjoyed them Crooked Vultures.
Well, this is the frustrating thing, because yes, Queen, Songs for the Dead, absolutely amazing. He was brilliant with them. He was in Nirvana. He was brilliant in Nirvana. As a frontman, vocalist and guitarist, he's so basic and average. It's just not even funny.
I think...
which I wouldn't mind if he was in a pub band, and he's a low-level sort of indie star, but to be a huge mega rock star selling out stadiums with that shit is just absolutely shocking.
I think the problem with Dave, I found at one point he was just oversaturated. He became everywhere. He was the new Bono for a while. He was everywhere. And I think anybody like that, you just kind of go, I'm done. And I think that was half the problem. Like, oh, we're doing Record Store Day. Well, he's got to be in charge of it. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, yeah, well, he's doing that one. He did every collaboration.
We're making a documentary. Oh, he's got to be on it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I think we were saying he's just always on everything. He's
in everything. He's just everywhere, and I think that's what annoys me. I'm just, oh God, we need a break from the man. It's just everywhere. It's too much.
Yeah. No,
I'll tell you who has had the easiest ride of a career ever, any band ever, and I like the guy. He's Pat Smear. He was all right. He was in the Germs, original band, classic punk band. One album, they were together for 5 minutes. Then he's in Nirvana, the biggest band on the planet, as a perfunctory sort of second guitarist, throwing himself around the stage. And then he's in Foo Fighters, the biggest band on the planet, as a just perfunctory second guitarist, throwing himself around the stage. He's earned a fortune for being absolutely completely nondescript. It's fair play to him.
Yeah. I think, well, you could probably say the same for the bassist, really, couldn't you?
Was he in Sunny Day Real Estate?
Yeah, Sunny Day Real Estate, and then
See, again, I kind of like them.
but then he then almost quit Foo Fighters, and then he probably looked at his bank account and went, "Nope, I'm going back."
Yeah. Wembley or the local pub? Yeah, I Wembley.
But anyway, so I will wait and see.
So if you just want me to, let me just clear this up. If you just want me to be completely clear about this, I don't really like the Foo Fighters.
Well, there you go then. That's fine. But our audience members might do, so it's best to let them know that something's coming, whether they give a shit or not. So there you go. That is awesome. Geeing you up for the new Fooey's album out soon.
Get me back off my soapbox. Put me back on the back in my chair like a granddad.
Okay, cool. We haven't decided what our next feature is, so your guess is as good as ours.
If you've got anything you'd like us to talk about, let us know.
Yep, exactly. Find out what Dan's views are of Dead or Alive.
Better than Foo Fighters.
Okay. I'm sure Dave's played on their album. And he's a big fan.
Yeah, all been in a documentary, yeah.
About his lips.
I mean, how long you go? When do you need your next dose of medication? Because I could be going all night on this, baby.
To be honest, I'm going to call time on this one because I want to go and curl up on the sofa and die.
And cry into your lemsip.
Exactly. Well, thank you ever so much for everyone who's listening. And Dan needs to go off and punch something for a while.
Round of applause to Simon for making it through the episode.
Thank you very much. And that's it from me. I might see you next time if I don't die. Bye.
Goodbye.
You heard it online, and you think there's no rival. You want it for your collection, but have you heard it on vinyl?